I am Dr. Robert Ellis, and for over 40 years of wearing this white coat, I have had the privilege of walking alongside countless patients through every stage of life. There is one truth, however, that modern medicine sometimes forgets to remind us, that true health is not merely found in test results or written prescriptions. True health lives within the unseen baggage we carry each day, the habits, the beliefs, and the quiet emotions that have clung to us across the years. As the seasons of life accumulate, we do not only age in body, we also gather things that once served us well but have since grown heavy. Old worries, outdated expectations, possessions that now are little more than shadows of a time long past. All these, if we are not careful, become silent stones pressing down on our shoulders, wearing away at the joy that should still be ours to savor with every new day. But letting go of these things is not a loss. It is an act of healing. It is how we return to ourselves, lighter, freer, and more alive, reclaiming the simple joy of being that we sometimes misplaced in the busyness of life. And today, I would like to walk with you through 6 familiar burdens, 7 pieces of old luggage that many of us unknowingly continue to carry after the age of 70, and slowly, gently, learn how to set them down. Each release is not a scar of absence, but a sacred clearing, a space where peace, freedom, and light can finally enter. Let me guide you, step by steady step, with all the respect that your long journey deserves, and with a quiet faith in the beautiful days that are still waiting for you just beyond the horizon. 1. The burden of guilt. When saying no, among the heaviest weights I have seen my patients carry, often without even realizing it, is the silent guilt that creeps in every time they say no. By the time we reach our 70s, our time, our energy, and our peace become among our most precious resources. Yet many of us, molded by years of duty, politeness, and the quiet fear of disappointing others, still hesitate to protect these sacred reserves. We say yes when we are tired. We say yes when our hearts long for rest. We say yes even when every fiber of our being whispers that we need stillness instead. It is time to lay that burden down. Saying no is not selfish, it is not a rejection of love, nor is it a failure of kindness. It is, rather, a profound act of self-respect, a recognition that we too are worthy of care, that our needs matter no less simply because the years have piled up behind us. Protecting your peace at 70 is not an act of rebellion, it is a long overdue homecoming to the self. And perhaps even more importantly, when you honor your boundaries, you offer a priceless gift to those who come after you. You teach your children, your grandchildren, and even your friends that it is not only acceptable but wise to know one's own limits. You show them that aging does not have to mean endless obligation or quiet resentment. It can mean living with intention, with clarity, and with the quiet courage to say, I have given much, and now I must also give to myself. Let me tell you, the people who truly care about you will understand. Often they will be relieved to see you choosing your well-being, and when you do say yes, because of course there will still be times when you will, it will come from a place of genuine joy, not from the exhaustion of duty. If you find yourself carrying the old guilt of saying no, I invite you to loosen your grip, to set it down beside you like a stone no longer needed on your journey. You have spent decades tending to the needs of others. Now, in this sacred season of life, it is time to tend tenderly to your own soul as well. And as we step forward together, I invite you to consider another quiet presence that may still linger in your life, something just as subtle and just as heavy. The unused, outdated remnants tucked away in drawers and cabinets, quietly accumulating over the years. These too, in their own way, can weigh us down far more than we realize. Let us move now to the next step on our path, clearing away the outdated supplies and prescriptions that no longer serve your health or your peace. 2. Outdated medical supplies and prescriptions. Just as emotional burdens can quietly accumulate in our hearts, so too can physical remnants pile up around us, hidden in bathroom drawers, kitchen cabinets, bedside tables. Old pill bottles, expired ointments, half-used prescriptions from ailments long healed. They sit there silently, gathering dust, often forgotten until a moment of need arises. And yet, these forgotten remnants are not harmless. They can pose risks, sometimes serious ones, especially as our bodies grow more sensitive with age. I have seen too many moments where a simple act of reaching into the wrong drawer led to unnecessary harm. An outdated blood pressure pill mistaken for a current one. An expired antibiotic taken in haste. A bottle with a faded label, its contents no longer certain. In the delicate balance of health that we must tend to after 70, even a small mistake can have large consequences. But beyond the physical danger, there is another quieter harm, the psychological clutter. Every outdated tube of cream, every old thermometer, every expired supplement you no longer take, they all contribute to a kind of invisible noise. They crowd your living spaces just as surely as old worries crowd your mind. And in moments of illness or confusion, they do not offer comfort. They offer hesitation, doubt, and potential danger. The act of clearing them away, then, is not simply housekeeping. It is an act of devotion to your present self and to the future moments when clarity will matter most. Take a gentle afternoon, perhaps with a loved one beside you, and go through each shelf and drawer. Read the labels carefully. If a medication is expired, let it go. Dispose of it safely, perhaps at a pharmacy collection center. If a medical device no longer works properly, release it without regret. If there are supplies you have not used for a year or more, ask yourself honestly whether they still belong in the life you are building now. In doing so, you create not only a safer environment for yourself, but also a profound peace of mind for those who may need to assist you someday. When a son, a daughter, or a caregiver steps into your home, they will find a space that reflects attentiveness, simplicity, and readiness. A space where they can help you with confidence and love, rather than confusion or fear. Letting go of outdated medications is, at its heart, an affirmation of life. It says, I am here, I am present, I choose to live wisely today. And as we clear away the old and unnecessary, we make space for something even more vital, the renewal of our inner voice. Because sometimes the heaviest burden we carry is not in our hands, nor in our drawers, but in the quiet, unkind words we have spoken to ourselves for far too long. Let us take the next step together to confront and release the burden of negative self-talk that has no place in this beautiful season of your life. 3. Negative self-talk. There is a kind of wound that no scan or stethoscope can detect, and yet it can weaken the spirit more profoundly than any physical illness. It is the wound of the harsh, quiet words we speak to ourselves, sometimes for decades, without mercy. You see, many of us, by the time we reach our 70s, have accumulated a lifetime of inner criticism. We carry old doubts like heavy cloaks. I am too old to matter now. It's too late for me to start again. I am a burden more than a blessing. And though these voices may have grown familiar, I want you to know they are not your truth. They are echoes of old wounds, old fears, old cultural whispers that wrongly measure a life by youthful vigor alone. And if you let them, they will rob you of the peace, the joy, and the sense of worth that you have spent a lifetime earning. But just as outdated medicines clutter your shelves, outdated judgments clutter your mind. And they too can and must be cleared away. Whenever I sat with patients who struggled with this invisible heaviness, I would gently ask them a question. Would you ever say these things to someone you love? A grandchild, a dear friend, a partner? Almost always their eyes would soften. Of course not, they would say. Then why, I would ask quietly, would you say them to yourself? You are not unworthy because you walk more slowly now. You are not irrelevant because your days are quieter. You are not failing because your dreams have changed shape. You are becoming, still becoming, just as a tree, even after 100 seasons, continues to stretch its arms toward the light. It is time to speak to yourself with the same kindness you have spent a lifetime offering to others. To say, I am still valuable. I am still needed. My story is still unfolding. And if there are people around you who cannot see your worth, who reinforce those old cruel voices, know that you have permission, full permission, to step back from them, to protect the sacred ground of your mind with the same care you would protect a beloved garden. Because you, my friend, have earned the right to live these years not with self-judgment, but with quiet pride, for the courage, the tenderness, and the endurance it has taken to come this far. And as we clear away the old narratives from within, there is yet another form of clearing that awaits us, a gentler, more tangible one, the clearing of the physical clutter that silently ties us to a past we have already outgrown. Let us move together now, hand in hand, toward the next step, the freeing of your living space and your spirit from the unnecessary weight of the past. 4. Clutter that ties you to the past. Not all burdens are carried in the mind alone. Some sit quietly on our shelves, behind closet doors, tucked into corners of rooms we seldom enter. They are the old jackets we have not worn in decades, the tools from a trade we no longer practice, the dishes meant for holiday feasts that now gather only dust. At first, these things seem harmless, even comforting. They remind us of who we once were, of lives well lived and seasons well loved. A photograph yellowed with time, a sweater that still holds a faint, familiar scent. These are treasures, and they deserve their place. But there is a line, often crossed without notice, where memories transform into anchors, and what once nourished the soul begins to weigh it down. I have walked through many homes over the years, invited into sacred spaces by patients who trusted me enough to share more than just their symptoms. And I have seen how the quiet accumulation of things can slowly, almost imperceptibly, steal the lightness from a life. Every overstuffed drawer, every crowded cabinet, every unopened box, they all whisper questions that tug at the heart. Should I keep this? What if I need it? What if letting it go means losing a part of myself? And so, we postpone decisions. We make room for the past, even as the present becomes harder to navigate. But hear me when I say this. Letting go of clutter is not an act of forgetting. It is an act of honoring. Honoring what was beautiful while choosing to make space for what is still possible. It is not the objects themselves that hold our memories. It is we who hold them within our hearts, where they are safe, no matter what we choose to keep or release. When you clear a shelf, you are not erasing the laughter that once echoed in your kitchen. When you give away a box of old tools, you are not discarding the pride you felt in building your home. You are simply choosing lovingly to carry your history more lightly, so that your hands, your mind, and your spirit are free to embrace the life you are still living. If the task feels too large, begin small. One drawer, one shelf, one corner of one room. Let each object ask you, do I still serve you? If the answer is no, if it brings you sorrow, confusion, or burden rather than joy, then bless it for its place in your story and let it go. And you need not do it alone. Invite a trusted hand to help you, a friend, a grandchild, a neighbor, and let the clearing itself become a moment of connection, of storytelling, of shared laughter, and even shared tears. Because when you clear the space around you, you are not just cleaning a house. You are making room for breath, for ease, for the sunlight to pour through your windows and land gently upon your days. And as the physical spaces lighten, so too does the heart. You begin to notice a deeper hunger, not just for tidy rooms, but for meaningful connections, for new friendships that remind you you are still alive, still needed, and still capable of being deeply known and loved. And so now, let us walk onward, toward the beautiful truth that it is never, ever too late to open your heart to new companions on the journey. 5. Expired goals that no longer serve your life. As we continue walking together on this path of gentle release, there comes a moment when we must turn inward and face not the objects on our shelves, nor the faces in our community, but the quiet, persistent list we keep tucked away inside ourselves. The list of dreams, ambitions, and goals that somewhere along the way we thought we had to achieve in order for our lives to be called complete. Perhaps you too carry such a list. Perhaps you still hear the echoes of old promises whispered to yourself long ago, that you would write that book or travel to every country on the map or build a business that would carry your name far beyond your years. And perhaps, when those dreams did not unfold exactly as imagined, you tucked them into the corners of your mind like unopened letters, holding on to them with a mixture of tenderness and quiet sorrow. I want to tell you something with all the gentleness I can muster from a lifetime of witnessing the complexity of human hearts. Not every dream was meant to be fulfilled, and not every goal that once inspired you is meant to be carried forever. Some dreams were given to you for a season, to stretch you, to guide you through a particular chapter of your life. But seasons change, and it is not a failure to let them go. In truth, holding on to outdated goals long after they have served their purpose can become as heavy and limiting as carrying a suitcase full of clothes that no longer fit. The more tightly we clutch what no longer belongs, the less space we leave for the fresh breath of new callings, new joys, new ways of being that are better suited to who we are now. I think of Ruth, a woman in her late 70s who sat across from me one afternoon with tears in her eyes, confessing that she still felt like a failure for never traveling the world the way she had once planned. Yet as she spoke, it became clear that the richness she longed for, the sense of wonder, of connection, of beauty, had never truly left her life. It had simply arrived in different forms, in the friendships she nurtured, in the garden she tended, in the handwritten letters she sent to faraway loved ones. The essence of her dream had been fulfilled in ways her younger self could not have imagined. And once she could see that, she could finally breathe again. Not as someone who had fallen short, but as someone who had lived richly, deeply, and enough. If you still carry old goals that now feel like burdens, I invite you to set them down with reverence, not regret. Thank them for the guidance they gave you. Honor them for the hopes they once stirred in your spirit. Then turn your gaze gently to the present and ask yourself, what matters to me now in this life I have, in this body with this soul, at this sacred moment in time? Perhaps now your goal is not to build empires, but to build memories with those you love. Perhaps now it is not about climbing mountains, but about sitting quietly beneath them, savoring their stillness. Perhaps now it is about savoring morning slowly, mentoring a younger heart, finding beauty in small, ordinary miracles. Letting go of expired goals is not an abandonment of ambition. It is a realignment of purpose. It is an acknowledgement that growth does not stop at 30 or 50 or even 80. It simply changes form. And as you loosen your hold on what no longer fits, you free yourself to walk lighter, to live truer, and to experience more deeply the life that is still stretching out before you like a road bathed in golden light. And yet, even as we release old ambitions, another, deeper fear may still be lurking beneath the surface, a fear so woven into the fabric of our culture, so hidden behind our daily routines, that few dare to speak of it openly. But if we are to finish this journey of lightening our hearts, we must face it together, with tenderness, with courage, and with hope. It is the fear of death itself. Let us take the final step now, toward making peace with the truth that has always walked quietly beside us, waiting not to terrify us, but to teach us how to live more fully, more freely, and more joyfully in the time we are given. 6. The fear of death. There is one burden heavier than all the others we have spoken of, heavier than the guilt of saying no, heavier than the clutter on our shelves, heavier even than the silent voices that question our worth. It is a burden we seldom name aloud, yet it walks beside us all the same, a shadow at the edge of every joyful moment, a quiet tightening in the chest when we dare to look too far ahead. It is the fear of death, the final, inevitable step of every human journey. And if we are to speak honestly about living fully after 70, then we must also speak tenderly and courageously about this. You see, fear of death is not something shameful. It is profoundly human. It is born from love, love for the life we have built, the people we cherish, the memories we are reluctant to leave behind. It is born from the mystery of what lies beyond, the uncertainty that even the wisest among us cannot fully illuminate. But here is what I have seen, over and over, in the faces of those who made peace with this truth. When we stop running from death, we stop running from life. When we stop treating death as an enemy, we find that it has been a teacher all along, whispering to us to live more urgently, more truthfully, more tenderly in the time we are given. Facing our mortality is not a surrender to despair. It is a profound return to gratitude. It is the simple, radical act of saying, "My time is precious. My presence is a gift. Every sunrise I witness, every conversation I share, every hand I hold, every breath I take. All of it is worthy of reverence." And paradoxically, when we look death in the eye without flinching, it loses its power to paralyze us. It becomes instead a reminder not of endings, but of the beauty of each fleeting beginning. I remembered James, a patient who spent many years quietly avoiding any conversation about death. He refused to write a will, avoided speaking about what mattered most to him, and buried his worries beneath busy days and polite smiles. But when a sudden illness forced the issue to the surface, he found that speaking openly about his fears, his wishes, his hopes, did not deepen his fear. It softened it. It made room for a different kind of living. He began to write letters to his children. He planted a garden he had always dreamed of. He laughed more. He cried more. He loved more fiercely. He stopped waiting for life to become less fragile and instead embraced its fragility as the very thing that made it precious. You do not need to erase all fear to find peace. Fear will come and go like the tides. What matters is that you do not let it dictate how you live. You can prepare thoughtfully, setting your affairs in order, expressing your wishes to your loved ones, reflecting on the legacy of kindness and courage you wish to leave behind, and then, having prepared, you can set down the burden of fear and walk forward more lightly, more bravely, into each new day. Death is not the opposite of life. It is the companion of life, the silent witness that gives meaning to every heartbeat, every whispered prayer, every act of love. When you accept this, you do not diminish the sadness of endings, but you honor the miracle of beginnings. You find yourself more present at the table with your family, more patient with small annoyances, more willing to say the words that matter while there is still time to say them. And so, as we reach the final steps of this journey together, I invite you not to live in fear of the unknown, but to live with awe for the wonder of the known, this life, this breath, this sacred unfolding moment. And so, my dear friend, we arrive at the end of this shared reflection. Not at the end of your journey, but perhaps at the beginning of a lighter, freer way of walking it. We have spoken together about burdens both seen and unseen, the quiet guilt of saying no, the hidden dangers tucked away in forgotten drawers, the harsh words we whisper to ourselves, the physical clutter that weighs down not only our homes but also our spirits, the loneliness disguised as resignation, the expired dreams quietly demanding space they no longer deserve, and the ever-present, often unspoken fear of death itself. Each of these burdens was never meant to be a permanent companion. Each was meant to teach you something, to guide you for a time, and then, when its work was done, to be set down with grace, with gratitude, and without regret. You see, aging is not a slow erosion. It is a sacred distillation. It is the gradual, beautiful refinement of a life, the stripping away of what is no longer needed, so that what is truest, deepest, and most essential can shine through. And you, right here, right now, are in that precious season where everything that matters is coming into sharper focus. Love, kindness, joy, presence, connection, wonder, the heavy things, the guilt, the clutter, the self-doubt, the fear. They are not who you are. They are simply old garments that no longer fit the soul you have become. You have earned the right to live these years not bowed by the weight of what was, but lifted by the lightness of what is still possible. You have earned the right to say yes to the people and moments that nourish you, and no to anything that does not. You have earned the right to let your home and your heart be filled only with what brings you peace. You have earned the right to dream new dreams, to laugh at new jokes, to dance in new ways. And you have earned, above all else, the right to face each day not with fear but with quiet, holy gratitude. So as you move forward from this conversation, not as someone who must be fixed or completed, but as someone already whole, I invite you to hold this simple truth close. It is never too late to feel free in your own life. Not by force, not by grand gestures, but by the slow, steady, sacred work of letting go. Let go of what no longer serves you. Make space for what still stirs your spirit. Trust that the best of you is not behind you, it is within you, still unfolding, still shining, still capable of lighting the way for others. Thank you for walking this path with me today. It has been an honor. And though we may part ways here, know that somewhere, in a quiet place within my heart, I am cheering you onward with deep respect, with abiding hope, and with a quiet, unwavering belief in the beautiful life you are still creating, one gentle breath at a time.